Welcome to EVO build blog number 11. In this episode, we're going to talk about exhaust, suspension, and E-85. So here we are in the new garage. The EVO has officially made it home. It spent the previous couple of months at Andy Schmedegard Motorsports getting some work done there, as I mentioned in the last blog. And what we just did recently is swap out the suspension. It previously had stock suspension, and we put in a set of Megan coilovers, however you say that. So as you can tell, it's a bit lower now, so it does look a bit nicer, and it definitely has some better handling characteristics over the stock suspension. So we got that swapped out while we were at Andy's shop. And then this car actually had a JDM rear bumper on it when I bought it. However, it wasn't a real JDM bumper. It was just a cheap JDM bumper. Didn't have the best fitment, and I wasn't sure yet if I was gonna paint the car, how soon I was gonna paint the car, and that JDM bumper was just a different color. So I took that off, and the exhaust that was on this car initially was set up for a JDM. And if you're not familiar with a JDM bumper versus a USDM bumper, the exhaust exits a bit differently at a different angle. For the JDM, it's kind of tilted out a bit more towards the corner, as opposed to the USDM where it's kind of coming straight back. So the exhaust that I had kind of on here just to get the car running last week was set up for JDM bumper with no JDM bumper on the car. So if I would have ran it that way for too long, it would have just melted through the plastic. So luckily Andy had the Busher Racing exhaust from his race EVO, since he's changing his setup. So the exhaust on here, I am so lucky to say, is actually some famous EVO exhaust, because it was from Andy Schmedegard's Grid Life EVO. So I kind of stole his old exhaust and put it on here, and it fit great. It sounds awesome. So that's the exhaust we're running now. And then we also swapped out the stock injectors for some 1000cc PTE low Z injectors. We had the stock injectors in just when we fired it up, just to make sure it's kind of a way to eliminate a chance of a different part being bad. We just wanted to put stock injectors in, since that's obviously stock OEM, and then you wouldn't have to worry about tuning right off the bat and kind of adjusting for a different injector size. We could just start it up, make sure it would run and drive, as we did. And then we swapped in the 1000cc injectors so we could run ethanol, so we can run some E85. That's the main reason we went with the bigger injectors, or the main reason I should say that I went that big. I probably would not have had to have gone with the 1000cc size if I was only running premium or regular, fuel. I wouldn't be dumping so much in, but with E85, I'm able to burn a lot more fuel, so I'm going to need the bigger injectors to dump that fuel in.
Now, what's the plan here once we boot up? What do you actually have to? So there's just like a base setting?
Yeah, we're gonna change scaling. So we're still on pump gas. So stock injectors are 560s, which are actually scaled to, I can't remember what they're scaled to, like 510 or something. And that's because the fuel pressure on an EVO is a little different from most. They rate injectors based on a specific pressure. So these are 1000 cc's, so we have to change the scaling, otherwise it's just going to dump a shit ton of fuel in. When you get injectors, they'll say what cc injectors they're at, but that's at a specific pressure.
Okay.
So I think it's like 39 or 41 or something like that. The Teffer mods, basically, I don't know if it's one guy or a group of people. They've been able to kind of like reverse engineer the stock ECU and rewrite the code to what they want, and they have all these different like little hacks and stuff, dual tune. Yeah. And so with the latest Teffer mod's the V7. That's what we're going to use. We'll probably set up, what are you going to run most, E85 or pump?
Hopefully E85, if I can find it. I'll keep it on that all the time.
So you can do the main map, you can do E85, and then we can do the alternate map, pump gas, and then that can be controlled a few ways. You got an 03 EVO, which has the manual or the intercooler sprayer. So you can actually set it, if you turn this on and the intercooler light starts flashing, that means you're on your alt tune. And I think with it off is the main tune. Or we could set it up with the throttle, so when you, there's a fast check engine light flash or a slow check engine light flash, and that can be controlled by holding the throttle down for about 5 seconds. So that's how usually I set them up, because most cars are like The only intercooler sprayer is only on 03, right? Yeah. So you get that option. Otherwise, you could do the throttle to hold the switch between tunes. We're gonna find the injector scaling, main map, fuel settings, injector scaling, and I think these are 1000 cc. These were precision.
Yeah,
1000
precision
cc's.
supposed to be a precision 1000.
So there's a couple people that have went through and already have figured out like the scaling and the latencies. The latencies is the characteristics of the injector at various voltages, because so let's say if something's gonna flow, 1000 cc's at 14 volts. Well, it's not gonna flow 1000 cc's at 10 volts or something. If your battery's getting weak or so there's these latencies you have to set for various voltages to tell it how long the injector takes to open and close. Injector companies really are supposed to provide this information. I think a few are now. I think Injector Dynamics and a few others are actually sharing this information, but it's basically the characteristics of the injector at various voltages and stuff. Yeah, and there are some ways you can log it. You can kind of fine tune the latencies a little bit, but there are certain ranges you're never gonna really touch. There's never gonna be a condition. How would you simulate a condition at? Let's see, where is the scaling? I'll show you what it looks like here. Injector voltage latency scaling, compensation. So, like 5 volts. When are you ever going to be at 5 volts? Even 7 volts, 9 volts, pretty rare. But you might be at 11. Maybe you have, or a cold winter day, you might be at like 10 volts or something like that. So it needs to know those different latencies to make it easier to start. An injector's at 14 volts is not going to act the same at 9 volts.
And I need to give a shout out to Ronnie at RS Motors for hooking me up with those injectors. Thank you very much, I appreciate it. So we got the injectors installed. I was missing some of the little clips, the little metal clips that kind of hold the plastic in place. So I ordered some of those, and I also see there's kind of a revised clip they kind of sell now for like $5 a piece, where you kind of swap out the whole piece, as far as I understand. I ordered those too, so temporarily I think I'm gonna just put the clips on so I know they won't pop off. And then somewhere down the line, I'll probably swap them out completely, and then maybe I'll do a how-to video on that as well. So after a boost leak test, we got it out on the road and did some tuning. Andy had the initial scaling set up, and he's tuned enough EVOs before where you could kind of get a base tune ready where he thought it should be. And then the process we did from there is basically doing some third gear pulls. He had his wideband hooked up, I had my wideband in the car as well, and then we did some logging. So basically you record what's happening while you do a pull in the car, and then you can look at that data that's saved. He could log his wideband so he could see what the air to fuel ratios were while he was doing the pulls. Again, Andy's the expert at tuning. I'm just kind of relaying my experience with kind of the way he went about doing it. Obviously, if you have a dyno, this is what you would be doing on a dyno. So we spent a while on the tune, got it fairly close, not totally tweaked in yet because really this is the initial shakedown for this whole car, so I want to drive it, make sure there's not a lot of other issues before we get too far in. So it should be safe to drive for now, but we're going to get a finer tune later on. And I'm looking for issues, and actually I did already find one. After I filled the tank up all the way, I noticed that apparently the gasket on the fuel sending unit, or the side, on the passenger side at least, not the actual pump side, but on the passenger side, there is a gasket that seems to be leaking. So I ordered a new gasket for that. I tried to retighten it down and it didn't seem to stop leaking. So that's one issue I found so far. There's a couple other little things that I gotta do. There's a lot that needs to be done to the whole car. But for now, it's drivable. I'll keep driving it and watch for any other issues that we might need to get fixed, but then we're gonna probably retune or fine tune it again, hopefully soon. So what's to come? Obviously body work. If you've seen from my last episode, it does have the blue door, and the rest of the paint is all pretty faded too. It was a Texas car, which being in Wisconsin, I'm glad it was a Texas car and not a Wisconsin car, because when we go to paint it now, I won't have to fix any rust. Fingers crossed, hopefully there won't be any rust to fix. So we're gonna do the body work, and I also wanna get a different set of wheels, and I need to install the radio, and I need to install those injector clips, which I talked about earlier. I need to fix that fuel leak, for when it's too full. So I got all those little issues and probably a bunch more to come. So good news for you guys, even though the EVO is up and running, I definitely have plenty to do on it, so I'm gonna keep filming this blog series and do changes, updates, and things as I go. That's about it for episode 11. I still got to keep working on that one lap documentary. I'm getting pretty far along, but I should be doing that again instead of this. But I know if I don't do this vlog in a timely manner, I would just skip it altogether. So here we are, doing another vlog instead of editing my one lap of America video. But one question of the day that I thought of for this one is, what wheels do you think I should put on here? I do have a set of wheels in mind that I really do want to get. I just don't know if I want to spend the money. I usually don't go all out and spend too much money on wheels, but I do have a set in mind that I think will look really good. But what are your recommendations? What kind of wheels do you think I should put on the EVO? So that's it for episode 11. Thanks a lot for watching. I really appreciate it. Comments, questions, let me know what rims I should get. Type them in the comment section wherever you're watching this video. And as always, thanks so much for watching. If you want to stay in touch, you can always follow me on Snapchat or Instagram as well. We'll see you in episode 12. And so we did some boost. So then we did a book. Why do I keep saying book? So yeah, we did some boost leak testing, and then we got it out on the road, did some tuning on it, and in Mexico, I guess, because we didn't go over the speed limit. There's gonna be a lot of bloopers on this one. It could be a lot of bloopers if I leave them in. This is gonna take forever to edit. Sorry, future Paul. I have an audience. People are looking at me. This place is a lot busier than my old house. So I used to live like out in the country, and there would be like one car that would pass by every minute. Now I live where there's like at least 10 cars a minute. So people watch me talk to myself in my garage.